other people can turn you into something that you never intended to become. You didn't set out to become this person that one day you can wake up and realize that you are. I've noticed that this happens with jobs quite a bit. It's actually kind of common in taking a job. Let's say you go to work for the Humane Society. And the Humane Society is supposedly a quote-unquote no-kill shelter. And you think you're starting this job to help animals, to work for a no-kill shelter, to, help with something that you found valuable. You have a love of the animals and you wanted to work with animals that were maybe found in bad circumstances, or just, got lost and ended up in a shelter, or whatever the circumstance is. And you take the job and you're excited about it, and you start cleaning out the kennels and picking up the poop and, feeding them and bathing them and talking to them and loving on them and trying to make them feel really good. And about, 3 weeks goes by and you realize that it's like you go to work and everybody's in kind of a funny mood, an odd mood, and you're not really sure why they're in a bad mood, but you find out that today is killing day. This is the day where they have once a month, where animals that aren't adopted, that, aren't, they've been at the shelter for too long, and maybe they have a personality thing that's not really good, and they have you go down and bring these animals up one after the other, and they euthanize them. You took the job to do something good. You took the job to help animals that were less fortunate. And your intentions for this job were very good, very honorable. But then you found out, wasn't something that came up in the interview, wasn't something that they said, hey, just to let you know, we're not a no-kill shelter. We actually do euthanize animals, and once a month we have killing day. They didn't say that during the interview. They waited until the day that it was killing day to disclose the fact that they're not a no-kill shelter. And you found yourself being a part of killing innocent animals that nobody wanted at that moment. And you spent the next, so many years or months or weeks or days, however long it took you, being in anguish over that, feeling very lied to, feeling bad because you're a part of something that you didn't want to be a part of in the first place, not knowing really what to do about it. Do you quit the job? Do you try to do something about what has transpired? Do you, what do you do? But through absolutely no intention or fault of your own, your intentions, your focus was purely beneficial, was, you know, happy, was innocent. Your intentions for taking this job in the first place were morally correct. And weeks into it, you find out that you are now a part of a mass slaughter of animals, when you took the job to help them. And now you're stuck trying to decide what that means for you. You know, why are you in this position in the first place? How do you combat this thing? You see the problem. You see how, you know, society creates this problem. You see how people create the problem. You see that the problem exists. You don't agree with the solution to the problem. But you're not really in a position to make that call. So you have to decide on your own, are you going to continue to be a part of a slaughter organization or are you going to quit? What are you going to do as an individual? And if you don't do it and do it to the best of your ability, will the next person who takes your place do it worse or do it without any compassion or without any, I mean, it's a real detriment. It is a dilemma that you can't even imagine. Or let's say that you meet somebody and this somebody is married and they are separated or in the process of separating, and they're going to get a divorce. And they don't file for divorce. And another year goes by and they still haven't filed for divorce. And maybe you're living your life, you're dating this person, maybe you've moved in together, maybe you have intentions of getting married someday, of having a family, blah, blah, blah. Time goes on. It's, you know, maybe the one person doesn't want to get a divorce and they make it very difficult for the person who does want to have the divorce. Or maybe the person who has or wants the divorce doesn't really want the divorce, but they haven't told you that. Or maybe the person who wants the divorce finds it too challenging to deal with, so they keep putting it off and putting it off and putting it off and putting it off. And before you know it, you realize that you have become a homewrecker. You didn't intend to be a homewrecker. You didn't purposely get involved with somebody who was married and deserved the title of homewrecker. You fell in love with somebody who was supposedly in the process of dissolving their marriage. And they, at some point, stopped doing that, or didn't continue to do that, or didn't finish doing that. And although that's fine for them, if they want to do that, they have to deal with their own stuff. But this person has now turned you into a homewrecker because you are not engaged. You're not getting married. You're not, you're just dating a married man, which is the definition of a homewrecker. So be very cautious. It's very easy throughout our lives to get in situations where our intention was honorable. Our intention for the situation was very passive. It was not malicious in any way, shape, or form. You didn't join, or you didn't take a job at the Humane Society and start slaughtering animals because that's what you set out to do. No, you took a job and then you found out that that's part of the job. Well, now you're not this person that you thought was doing a good thing. You're actually a person who is doing a bad thing, and you didn't want to do this bad thing. And in the, situation of the relationship, same thing. You trusted somebody. You trusted that they were honorable. You trusted that they had a plan. You trusted that they were going to follow through with this plan. And for whatever reason, they never did follow through with the plan. And they turned you into somebody who was loving and understanding and trying to see things from another person's point of view, into a homewrecker. So there really isn't any way to guarantee that what you intend to do is what actually will happen. But there are things that you can do that will minimize the potential for things like that to happen. And that is to ask as many questions as you possibly can without feeling stupid for asking the questions. In the case of, a relationship, if the person is in a relationship, if they're still married, they're still married. That's all there is to it. Don't believe anything. Don't believe that they're getting a divorce. Don't believe that, because anything can happen. So if you've met somebody and they're, I just broke up with my wife, I am getting a divorce, whatever, do not believe them. Do not believe them. This person is still married. This person is not for you. God would not send you somebody who is married. The devil will send you somebody who's married. God would not. So if you find yourself in a situation where you're highly attracted to this person and you want to be with them, but they're married, regardless of what they say, they're not divorced. They have not finished this relationship. And until they do, they should be off limits. They should not be a factor in your life. And I think all too many times we think this is my person, or this is my whatever, this is my person. But I've met them a little too soon. They're going through something and they need time. But then time passes and they don't do anything. And they're literally turning you into something you never intended in the first place. You were just being compassionate of somebody who had a struggle that they needed to clear up. But being compassionate for somebody who's in this struggle caused you to be a completely different person into it. Whatever that time period is, whatever that time frame is. And you keep saying, are you getting a divorce? When is that divorce going to be final? When is that going to happen? And it just continues. So if somebody comes to you, I don't care how you feel about them. I don't care what the circumstance is. If they're not married, if they're married to somebody else, they're not for you. They are married to somebody else. They can be for you if they get a divorce. But the chances of them getting a divorce in the time period, if you wipe them off and you're kind of hanging out waiting for them to get a divorce, you're probably going to meet somebody else, the one that God did send to you in the meantime. And that person is going to continue on with their divorce. So, in the case of the job, same thing, ask questions. I was young when I took the job at the Humane Society. I was like, I don't know, 18 years old. Maybe even, no, I was actually 19, maybe 20. And it never occurred to me that they would kill animals. Never occurred to me that that was going to be a factor. And there were other challenges with the job too. There were many challenges. And I have talked to many people over the years who do the same thing. They take jobs, they think that they're doing it for one reason, and they find out, 6 months into it, that they've been turned into something that they never intended to be in the first place. This happens a lot with military jobs. A lot. That's why we have a lot of people who are seeking counseling and things like that, because they get into things thinking that they're doing something, and then they find out that there is a twist or some obstacle that they have to get through, or they have to make a decision about. And I think it happens more often than we're aware of, just because a lot of people just don't talk about it. But be careful with any situation that you're going into, because it may seem like it is one thing, but it can turn into something else. And I think probably if more people were not okay with what it's turning into, meaning you take a job and it's supposed to be one thing, and you find out that there's a part of this job that you didn't know about, that you really aren't comfortable with, you don't feel good about, and once you find out, you quit. You quit. And I think maybe in that process, it doesn't really matter what would happen big picture wise. Somebody will probably always come along to do that job, even if you're not willing to do it. But if you're not willing to do it, if you think that is going to damage you in some way, you should be able to say, I don't want to do this. Thank you very much. I didn't realize this was part of the job, and you walk away. Same thing with a friendship or a relationship that you get into. It doesn't matter. You can meet somebody, you could think that they are like your best friend from the beginning of time. But then you find out that they have this nasty stealing habit or something that really you don't agree with. But being friends with this person, you are a part of their problem. You may not join them in stealing. You may not, help them do it. But the fact that you know they've done it and you've done nothing about it is just as bad as if you have done it yourself. It's just as bad. So, are you going to continue to be friends with this person who is doing this? Are you going to continually put yourself in a position of being in a bad position? compromising yourself to maintain this friendship. Those are the decisions that you have to make. And I think every person should be able to make that decision. Every person should be able to make the mistakes and deal with the consequences. And every person should be able to say, no, this doesn't work for me. I gotta walk away. It is literally all about choices and the choices that you make. But my point is, it sneaks up on you very slowly. Sneaks up on you. Sometimes we don't make the best choices when it comes to friends or family or jobs or other things in our life. But when we realize there's a problem, it's important that we deal with the problem right then and there. Otherwise, putting it off, avoiding it, thinking that God has put you in this position for a reason. Maybe God put you in that position for the reason of saying no. Maybe that's all there is to it. Maybe you were being tested. Maybe God just wanted to see if you would go along or if you would walk away. So, make whatever choice you want to make. But just know that those choices become a part of you. They shape who you are over the long term. Now, you may have an experience and you may learn from it and you may not repeat it again. But can you deal with the way that experience made you feel? Can you deal with the fact that you didn't stand up and say no? Can you continue to have a healthy relationship with yourself when you knew you didn't do the right thing? The just thing. And make sure you ask a whole lot of questions before you get into something. And it doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't matter if it's your friends, your family, your future spouse, your boyfriend, your girlfriend. Ask questions. Ask questions and do the research as much as you can possibly do before making a decision. And if you get into a situation where you have taken something or you have accepted something because it was in line with your values, your morals, your goals, and you realize at some point that it does not work for you, something about this does not work for you, do not be afraid to say, thank you, I've enjoyed the experience, I gotta go now. And you will be so much happier than if you just go along. Go along to get along. You may have more jobs or more friends that you've dumped or more boyfriends that you've dumped or girlfriends or whatever the case may be. But you will be able to live with yourself. And I think that is the most important part. Blessings.